I'm standing here at 202 Ash Street. Now, many of you may not know this location as 202 Ash Street. You probably know it better as the Forest. For right behind me, this empty field that you see here, up until 10 days ago, was a beautiful forest, one that's been used by generations of Valemount residents to come and a place to unwind, take walks, go walks with their dogs, have the kids play here, build forts, camp out. It's been a well-used particular area, but it's now recently been cleared out and logged almost completely by some local contractors for the new owners. This is a very large piece of property. It's 65.5 acres. It runs from Ash Street to Dogwood Street, from 9th Avenue to 13th Avenue. Kind of hard to imagine or to visualize that size of piece of property, but you could take 44 CFL-sized football fields and put them right inside this piece of property. It's that large. Most of Valemount's existing homes would probably fit inside this section. It was purchased this year in March by some owners, an Alberta numbered company from the Sherwood Park, Edmonton area, for the price of $330,000, which equates to about $5,000 an acre. In 2007, this property sold for $1 million, so quite a drop in that particular area. We tried to ask the owners, tried to reach the owners to ask them why they've decided to clear the property at this time. No plans have been put forward with the village for developing this piece of property yet, so we wanted to know why they chose to clear this at this time. Could not reach the owners in the Sherwood Park area. We also tried to reach their representative here in Valemount, was unsuccessful in doing that. We did have a chance to speak with Dave Craig, who's a local logging contractor, actually a subcontractor on this job clearing the trees. So let's take a listen to what Dave had to say. We're here with Dave Craig, who's a subcontractor for Mickelson Investments on the job at 202 Ash Street. Dave, what's happening here today?
Oh, we're trying to clean up the bug kill and alleviate any potential fire hazards for the village. Most of this wood is aged too old, it's getting too old and it's all dying, so we're trying to help the landowner remove it all.
So this is a forest that's been here for many years. These trees are, I'm going to guess, 60, 70 feet high, some of them. Are they all in bad shape and need to be taken out, or were there selected areas? What was the plan going in for this?
The plan is to basically remove all the old timber. It's older, dying pine. There's lots of butt rot in it, and its life is near its end. It needs to leave.
So you talk about a lot of pine beetle kill in this area. What have you seen in terms of the trees here?
Probably 35%, something like that's already dead, and there's still lots in there. I noticed while we're cutting with the buncher that there's new beetles in. So within a year or so, there'd be probably another 20-25% that's died.
So is this an example of the rot you were talking about?
Okay, this is probably a 6-inch tree. As you can see, the stain starts right here to here. It's already starting to turn. This tree here is probably 12 inches. 5 inches of that is rotting already. And if you look at that whole bunch and the other two adjacent to it, you may have 10% that doesn't have butt rot within it.
So for those who aren't real familiar with the term, what does butt rot mean?
It means the roots are dying, and it starts in the root, and the tree is dying. It's over mature. It's ran its life.
So even without taking it down, it would have come down on its own pretty soon with a good windstorm?
I would estimate within 10 years, this complete stand that we took would be virtually dead.
Many communities have what are known as tree protection bylaws in place, and these are set aside generally to include things such as prohibitions against cutting down trees without a permit or in engaging in tree damaging activities, making sure that there are tree management plans in places for larger developments, setting down the conditions where trees have to be replaced when they've been cut down, the protection of significant trees, and also the types and locations of trees for replanting, which is an important consideration. Valemount has no bylaw such as that in place right now. I spoke with Mayor Townsend to ask her about this project and the village's involvement in it. She said the village ensured that the proper provincial logging permits had first of all been obtained for the project, that the logging hours would be restricted and given times from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., that public safety measures would be implemented for the project, that logging activities would not damage municipal infrastructure, and that the contractors would attempt to preserve immature trees whenever possible. My understanding is that the logs will be taken to mill and sold. Dave Craig, subcontractor on the job, estimates that the owners will net around $50,000 on the sale of these logs. In the fall, there will be wood waste on the site that will be burned after the summer burning ban has been lifted, of course under village restrictions for that. I asked Mayor Townsend specifically why no public consultation or notification about this massive logging project within village limits was given. And she replied that because it's on private land, no consultation or notification was necessary. So this is a big area of trees that's been used by a lot of people in Valemount, and a lot of people are going to be saying it's sad to see it go, but according to what you told me earlier, there are a number of factors why it had to be removed?
Yes, there's costs incurred when you have to come in and other people are cutting trees down. For fire reasons, it's just best that the whole forest had left, and we're trying to leave as much of the regen stand as possible for visual effects and just make it look good.
Many communities now recognize that forests, in addition to their aesthetic, their cultural, and their recreational benefits, also play a key role in a community's environmental sustainability by helping to conserve energy through shading and wind control. Already, residents on 9th Avenue are reporting increased wind levels now that the trees have been taken down. In addition to that, forests also benefit by helping to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, by improving the air quality in a community, by reducing the stormwater runoff, and by increasing the soil and dust retention. According to American Forest, which is a US-based conservation organization, every acre of forest removes 186 metric tons of carbon dioxide from our air annually. So in a 65.5 acre forest such as what was here, that equates to over 12,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions cleaned from our air each year. In easier to understand terms, that equals the annual greenhouse gas emissions from 2,564 passenger vehicles, or 29 million miles driven by an average passenger vehicle, or 624 garbage trucks of waste recycled instead of landfilled, or the amount of carbon dioxide emissions from 1,111 homes each year. So you say it's kind of three-pronged then, a safety hazard for dead and dying trees, the pine beetle kill, plus a fire hazard?
Correct.
In the end, this is private property, and the owners have the right to remove as many trees from their property as they like. Without a tree protection bylaw in place, the village could only impose limited controls on the project. There definitely was a case to be made for removing some or many of the dead and dying trees in this forest. However, did all 65.5 acres of trees have to be removed at this time? Maybe yes, maybe no. That was a conversation we never got to have. We are all stewards of our environment in which we live here. We may not have control over environmental concerns that happen outside of Valemount, but in our own community we can and certainly should have a voice in what happens right here in our own backyard.